When you think of it, everything that we believe, everything that we understand, comes through and is filtered through the senses. We either see it and we process information, we hear it, we process information, we touch it, we process information, and so through the senses, we are processing that which is being filtered, and we are making judgments about what is being processed. You know, in the early church, many people could not read or write. And so the faith was passed on through songs that they sang, through pictures like what we see in the stained glass windows, and through the stories that were told. The Jewish people had a word for that. It's called midrash. The faith was passed on through midrash. And I can remember when I was in the seminary, my homiletics professor would say to us, "Gentlemen, you should preach with the Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other, because stories, stories, stories are as free as the air that you breathe. Stories are what break open the eternal Word of God and make sense of it for us in our time." So we listened to a story from the first book of Kings for the first reading. And then we listened to another story that was told in the gospel. And there was a message that was proclaimed. You heard it, and you processed what you were hearing, and you made a judgment about it. Or at least I hope you heard it, and you were processing judgment about it. So I want to tell you a story. I'm going to read you a story this morning. Remember when you were read to when you were little? Huh? You know what? People love to be read to, you know. Adults love to be read to more than children. Think of all the audio books that people listen to today. So I'm going to read you this story, and I want you to pay close attention to what I'm going to read to you, and then I'm going to have some comments to make about the story. Now, the story is called The Next Place. And what the story is really all about is to try to comfort little ones, and even adults, at the loss of someone in their life. Someone's died. And so there's a message that's being put forth here, okay, about life after death. Listen closely. The next place that I go will be as peaceful and familiar as a sleepy summer Sunday and a sweet, untroubled mind. And yet, it won't be anything like any other place I've ever been, or seen, or even dreamed of in the place I leave behind. I won't know where I'm going, and I won't know where I've been as I tumble through the always and look back toward the when. I'll glide beyond the rainbows. I'll drift above the sky. I'll fly into the wonder without ever wondering why. I won't remember getting there. Somehow I'll just arrive. But I'll know that I belong there, and I will feel much more alive than I've ever felt before. I will be absolutely free of the things that I held on to that were holding on to me. The next place that I go will be so quiet and so still that the whispered song of sweet belonging will rise up to fill the listening sky with joyful silence and with unheard harmonies of music made by no one playing, like a hush upon a breeze. There will be no room for darkness in that place of living light, where an ever-dawning morning pushes back the dying night. The very air will fill with brilliance as the brightly shining sun and the moon and 500,000 stars are married into one. The next place that I go won't really be a place at all. There won't be any seasons, winter, summer, spring, or fall. Nor a Monday, nor a Friday, nor December, nor July, and the seconds will be standing still while hours hurry by. I will not be a boy or a girl, a woman or a man. I'll simply be just simply me, no worse or better than. My skin will not be dark or light. I won't be fat or tall. The body I once lived in won't be part of me at all. I will finally be perfect. I will be without a flaw. I will never make one more mistake or break the smallest law. And the me that was impatient or angry or unkind will simply be a memory, the me I left behind. I will travel empty-handed. There is not a single thing I have collected in my life that I would ever want to bring, except the love of those who loved me and the warmth of those who cared, the happiness and memories and magic that we shared. Though I will know the joy of solitude, I'll never be alone. I'll be embraced by all the family and friends I've ever known. Although I might not see their faces, all hearts will beat as one, and the circle of our spirits will shine brighter than the sun. I will cherish all the friendship I was fortunate to find, all the love and all the laughter in the place I leave behind. All these good things will go with me. They will make my spirit glow, and what that light will shine forever in the place that I go. Nice story, huh? Well, you might think it's a nice story, but what I want to tell you about this story is it's full of lies. It's full of heresy. It is completely contradictory to what we believe about our faith. You know where they sell this book? Everywhere. It's a children's book. And so what I want to suggest to you is that the stuff that we take in, the stuff we read, the stuff we listen to, the stuff we touch, the stuff we smell, has an effect on us. And when kids read this stuff, okay, over and over and over again, it begins to form what they believe. Listen, I will not be a boy or a girl or a woman or a man. I'll simply be no better than I am. Really? What am I going to become after I die? What is the afterlife going to be like if I'm not going to be who I am? The body I once lived in won't be a part of me at all. That's contradictory to the resurrection of the body. It wasn't a year ago that I preached and I gave a homily in this very church and told you and read to you from the scriptures that heaven is going to be lived in the body. And by the way, so is hell. We are going to be resurrected. We are going to be given new bodies. But they're going to be our bodies. I'm not coming back as something different or someone different. I'm coming back as me. God is going to raise me from the dead. God is going to raise you from the dead. And the me that was impatient or was angry or unkind will simply be a memory. I don't think so. There's going to be a judgment. There's going to be an accounting for all of the impatience, the anger, the unkind things. And they're not just going to be a memory. I'm going to be held accountable for the things I said and the things I did. The me I left behind, I'm not going to be left behind. When I die, there is what we call the particular judgment. My soul goes before God. I give an accounting. At the general judgment, when Christ comes again and raises all mortal bodies, what was sown corrupt is going to become incorrupt. We're going to be given bodies like His. Can you imagine living hell in an incorruptible body? Can you imagine suffering the pains and fires of hell forever in an incorruptible body? Oh my gosh. We don't think about those things. We don't think about the consequences of our choices. See, thoughts have consequences. Choices have consequences. I'll be embraced by all the family and friends I've ever known. Although I might not see their faces, we will see their faces. The scripture says in Revelation 22, verse 4, we will see Him face to face. If we're going to see Christ face to face, then don't you think that we're going to see one another in the communion of saints face to face? You know what this is? This is New Age stuff. And I'm suggesting that you ought to be careful about the stuff that you allow your children to read and the stuff that they're exposed to. Because the stuff that they read, the stuff that they listen to, the stuff that they look at, the stuff that you and I subject ourselves to is either going to lead us closer to God or away from God. Listen. But someone may say, how are the dead raised? What kind of body will they come back? You fool. What you sow is not brought to life unless it dies. And what you sow is not the body that is to be, but a bare kernel of wheat, perhaps, or some other kind. But God gives it a body as He chooses, and to each of the seeds its own body. Not all flesh is the same, but there is one kind for human beings, another kind of flesh for animals, another kind of flesh for birds, and another for fish. There are both heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. But the brightness of the heavenly one kind, and that of the earthly is another. The brightness of the sun is one kind, and the brightness of the moon is another. And the brightness of the stars another, for star differs from star in brightness. So also the resurrection of the dead. It is sown corruptible. It is raised incorruptible. It is sown dishonorable. It is raised glorious. It is sown weak. It is raised powerful. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual one. These stories that we listened to this morning from the first book of Kings and from the Gospel point to something. Point to something. Jesus didn't heal that son just because He felt sorry for that widow. He raised her son from the dead because it was a great foreshadowing of the raising from the dead that we are all going to experience in the resurrection. The fact that Jesus worked miracles for 3 years, healing people's bodies, is significant. Those miracles, those healings in the body, point to a much greater healing that is taking place in the soul. For if the body is going to be with God for all eternity, then the soul must be free from the stain of sin. And the choices that we make in this life, the things that we look at, the things we listen to, the things that we do, the things that we say, have an effect not only on the soul, but on the body as well. Do you know why I read this book this morning? Because some time ago, I did a funeral. And at the funeral, I proclaimed the resurrection of Jesus Christ and the resurrection of the body. And when we went to the cemetery for the committal service, this book was read. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what are people listening to? What are these children understanding about life after death? What choices are they going to make based upon what they're exposed to and what they believe? Thoughts, choices have consequences. They either draw us closer to God or further away.